Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Nick.
And I'm Rachel.
And welcome to The Gray Adventure. So today we are going to be giving you guys our list of top 10 RV destinations that we've traveled over the last 15 months.
Right, so they're just the ones that we've traveled to. There are some places that are still on our list that we need to get to. We haven't hit the Pacific Northwest, we haven't hit the far northeast. So these are just where we've been on our travels, our top 10.
So we have our full list here. We're going to break them down starting from number 10 all the way to number 1.
Yep.
And share what were our favorite destinations. So first one up is
so
number 10, Boston and the Cape Cod area.
Yeah, we love cities. You hear us say that over and over again in our videos. So Boston was great, right on the water, and Little Italy was fun, and all the historical places. We loved being there. Plus, I have some friends in the area as well, so that always makes it a highlight.
Yeah, and then just the Cape Cod area in general. We visited Plymouth. We were there, looked at Plymouth Rock, went around, just had some great time. We also did a whale watching excursion.
That was a big highlight.
That was... Yes, a big highlight. Also, the girls didn't do so well with the water.
No, we were all pretty sick. Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. If you're looking for somewhere in the northeast area, especially if a big city, definitely recommend the Boston Cape Cod area. And one thing to note, downtown Boston is considered a national park as well.
Right.
The girls actually picked up their first Junior Ranger badge
in
Boston.
It was their first one.
So definitely check that out, and don't forget to pick up your Junior Ranger badges if you have kids.
Yes.
And that brings us to number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9?
9 fingers. I thought he had all 10 still.
9 fingers up. Number 9 for us was Mount Rushmore and the Needles Highway, and also Wind Cave National Park area.
Yeah, all together. We were actually staying in Nebraska when we hit those. But yeah, of course you have to see Mount Rushmore. That's an important monument to see. It's on a lot of people's lists, and it was great. The Needles Highway was recommended to us by a friend, and we hadn't really thought about it, but once we drove, it was amazing. It was
honestly, we preferred the Needles Highway to Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Mainly because it was a rainy day.
Oh, it was pouring rain when we got to Mount Rushmore, so make
sure you watch that video. I think we're gonna put in some of those clips. But yeah, Mount Rushmore was fun. Just learning all about the history of Mount Rushmore, how it was made, and how they decided to make it there was incredible. But then also seeing the Needles Highway and a lot of the rocks, the spires in the Needles Highway, they were originally planning to make those monuments and sculptures as well. In the end, they didn't. But you can drive through all of them. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, and then Wind Cave National Park.
It's a small one that not a lot of people hit, and it's not too far from Mount Rushmore. But it was really cool. It was one of our girls' favorite memories, and they really remember it because you go down in underground. It's really awesome.
And that's the main attraction, going into the caves underground. It's known as, at least in the United States, the largest cave system in the United States, miles and miles long. They say they add about 100 feet a day with volunteers who are looking throughout the caves. But then also on top there isn't a whole lot. That's where we saw our first buffalo.
Yep.
But yeah, Wind Cave National Park, definitely a must-see as well.
Number 8 is Badlands. This was actually the first national park that we camped in, and it was fantastic. It was really hot, and we didn't have full hookups. I don't think we had, anything at all.
We had no hookups at all
at the
campground.
So first boondocking and first national park, and it was great. Like to be right in the park and have the views of all the spires and the mountains and just quick access to the hikes was great. And it was one of our favorite hikes, the Notch Trail, where we had to climb and descend a ladder on the side of the wall. It was fantastic. And we also drove in a part that not a lot of people see.
Yeah, there's a huge loop that you can do all the way through the Badlands. We took about 2.5 hours to make the loop.
But that's where we saw tons of buffalo and prairie dogs and mountain goats and
Yeah, it was amazing just seeing so much wildlife out there where you think it's just barren land and desert, just
grasslands.
Grasslands, but it was pretty incredible, and just the topography there being completely different than anything else within the United States. Being able to see all the different layers of sediment. Just something, I think we mentioned it multiple times while we were there. It just looked like something out of this world.
Yeah, we landed on a different planet. You know, we'd come from the East Coast and landed there. So Badlands, definitely on the list.
Definitely on the list at number 8. Number 7, we have Arches and Canyonlands National Parks.
Right. They're pretty much right next to each other.
Literally 25 minutes away from each other. Just take a left off of one road or take a right and you're at either one.
Yeah.
Arches is definitely the one that most people go to.
Right, it's the most famous.
The most memorable one, with all those natural stone arches that have been created over millennia.
Yep.
It was, again, another hot day while we were there. We did have fun just seeing these massive structures that you really can't see anywhere else in the world. I think they said like 70% of the arches on the planet are within Arches National Park, which is pretty spectacular.
One thing we didn't get to do while we were there was the Fiery Furnace guided ranger walk. It was kind of the end of the season, and so they didn't have any more of those tours available, but we have friends who have done it, and they say it's absolutely incredible because it's kind of in the slots and through some really cool places in the Fiery Furnace area. So we recommend that, and if we get back, we are making sure that we do that. And then Canyonlands was right across the street. We went in the evening and saw sunset, and so it was just really cool the way the light reflected on everything, and I loved it. Now we haven't hit the Grand Canyon yet, but this was pretty incredible. We'll have to see how it compares to the Grand Canyon that we're hitting in a couple weeks this summer.
Yeah, there was a lot of little hikes. You do a lot of driving in Canyonlands.
Right.
A lot of little hikes just off of the parking areas, and just hiking 5 to 10 minutes, just seeing the incredible surroundings.
Yeah,
but then if you make reservations in advance, and if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, there actually is a off-road trail that you can take at the bottom of the canyon that takes 2 full days to do.
Yeah, you have to take all your water, all your supplies in there. You have to camp in their designated campgrounds as you go. It looks amazing. It's not something we were prepared to do this time around and didn't have a reservation, but that's something we highly recommend, and we'll be adding it to our
next
list.
time we are in the area, we are definitely doing that, because we're looking for a little bit more adventure next time around.
Number 6 is the Horida Keys. We stayed in the first Key Largo, at John Pennekamp State Park, which was fantastic. I wish we would have had reservations further down at some of the other keys. We did take a day and head down. We didn't make it all the way to Key West. We said we would do that next time around, as we do stay in a couple keys along the way. But it's just beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a top destination for sure.
Recommendation to do it not anytime after April.
Right, it would just be too hot.
April through October.
Yeah.
It was really hot while we were there, but it was just getting hotter and hotter by the day. So if you can get reservations over the winter months, that is definitely recommended.
And
but
that's the thing, you've got to get reservations really early. So when you're planning that, plan well in advance. That's what we'll have to do for next time.
But there's so much to do. We went snorkeling, we went kayaking, we went to
Turtle Hospital.
The Turtle Hospital. We went to a handful of restaurants that were right on the water, just enjoying great seafood.
And that was just hitting maybe about that first half of the Keys. And there's so many more islands down the way, and of course Key West at the end. So we'll definitely be back
to the Keys for that. Moving on to number 5, we have one that's not in the United States, just north. We hit the city of Toronto last summer, and the main reason why we were going there was to meet up with some friends of mine that I hadn't seen in almost 2 decades, which was a lot of fun. But we definitely love being in cities, and Toronto is actually top of the list as far as cities go on our list. There is such a variety of things to do in Toronto that it's hard to imagine where to start. I mean, right close by there's Niagara Falls, which we did one day. Just downtown Toronto and their parks, they have incredible restaurants, and honestly some of the best food. Some of the best food that we had in 15 months on the road.
Yeah, our favorite restaurant was the Mexican restaurant in Toronto. On
Imagine
our whole
that.
travels. But really, when we went to pick a restaurant, there was every culture, every country you could imagine. And the friends that live there even said, yeah, you could eat at a different restaurant
every night of the year, and you would have an amazing, incredible experience.
An incredible playground we hit while we were there, and a free zoo. And also
the aquarium.
The aquarium, we got to see the
CN Tower.
The tower as well. But yeah, a lot to do in Toronto. Of course, we were there in summer when it was warm. Maybe not a great destination for winter.
Well, unless you like winter sports. Number 4 on the list is
Destin, and it's the only place that we hit twice in our travels. We started there, looped around, and ended up there again before we wrapped things up. We ended up there both times with not great weather, but it still made the top of our list because the beaches are gorgeous. When the sun did come out, we just wanted to sit out on the beach all day. It's just beautiful.
For those who don't know, Destin has impeccable white sand.
Yeah.
The sand itself is made from quartz, and so when it's wet and you walk on it, it squeaks. It sounds like it's fake and artificial, but it's real.
It's so
the
pretty.
water is pretty incredible as well. There's a lot of restaurants in the area. There's not a whole lot to do besides be on the beach, but that's the main reason why you want to go to Destin is for the incredible beaches. So we were there both times in early February, but it was a little bit cold, and definitely you don't want to be in the Florida Panhandle between late November and mid-February. That's the coldest months.
It's chilly.
I would say high of 60s maybe. So if you want warmer weather than that, I know the summers can get blistering hot, but if you can do it from middle of February until mid to late spring or the fall months, that's probably the best time to be there.
And if you're traveling to the Destin area without an RV, we have friends who are full-time travelers like us who have rental properties in the area, and we'll link to that below. Zula Life, they're on Instagram. I believe that's their website too, but we'll link it below to their vacation rentals. So if you're traveling without an RV, that's a great place to stay.
And up next, number 3, we're getting close to the number 1 spot, the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta.
Yeah.
Now, this is more of an event rather than a destination, but it's all in one. The city of Albuquerque is a great place, but every year they hold the Balloon Fiesta, and we were there last fall for the Full-Time Family Rally, which coincided with the Balloon Fiesta, and it was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, we had fun because of the rally itself.
Yes.
We had events for that, but then the Balloon Fiesta, we got to enjoy that. We were able to get passes in so that we didn't have to pay.
And he got to ride.
I got to go up in a balloon, which I'd never done before, which was incredible. You can pay to go up in a balloon. There are designated balloons that you can pay for. But if you do have a publication or a YouTube channel, anything that's considered a media outlet, you can sign up for a media press pass, which gets you into the Balloon Fiesta and also the opportunity to go up if they have room in a balloon.
And even if your channel or your blog is small, it doesn't hurt to try. I mean, we had friends who have just a really small personal family update blog, and the mom in that family got to ride for free, and they were able to enjoy the press events. So definitely try it out and see if you could score a free ride.
Or if you have an Instagram account that has a lot of followers as well. They don't have a limit as to what the follower count needs to be, but definitely worth trying out. And also the main RV campground that is there, it's a quarter mile away from the main fields, which means every morning you wake up and you have balloons just flying right over the RV in the mornings and the evenings as well. Just a whole lot of fun. Definitely deserves the number 3 spot on our list. For the number 2 spot, we have Zion and Bryce National Parks.
Yeah, again, they're pretty close to each other. Within a few, we stayed at one campground and hit both of those at the same time. Both of those, more Zion. Zion, I wish we would have camped in, been able to have a reservation in, because there's such a variety in Zion. The river that runs through it, and hiking through the Narrows was a huge highlight for us.
For me, that was one of the highlights of traveling and all the national parks that we went to, just hiking up the Narrows. being in the water, in the canyon. It was
Yeah.
just an incredible experience, even though we didn't go that far. I mean,
No, we didn't.
we honestly went a quarter
But it was
mile,
still
maybe a little bit
awesome.
more.
Yeah, and a lot of smaller hikes. You take the bus shuttle around in that park, and so a lot of stops you can get off and take smaller hikes. We'd like to be able to do Angel's Landing, maybe
Yes.
once our girls are older, or just the two of us, because that looks like an incredible hike, but too difficult for our girls at this age. Just a lot to do in that park. That's when I wish we were staying in so that we could just hop on that shuttle and get around. But Bryce was nearby, and we hit that one, and that was one of my favorite hikes in Bryce. Was we hiked the Hoodoos. I forget the names of the actual trails that we hit, but there's a loop through there to hike the Hoodoos, and it was hard, but
it was hard. We didn't hit it on a hot day.
No, it was perfect weather.
Good weather. But just the incredible rock formations
Yeah.
in and out of where we were going. Just a little caves here and there that
Yeah.
we went through. It is dangerous, so make sure you have somebody along with you. Don't recommend doing it alone, just so that there is somebody
If you
else
slip,
there in
yeah.
case of an accident. But our girls did really well, and I actually was able to do a bike ride back
Oh, yeah,
from
I forgot that.
there, probably halfway back to our campground.
Mm-hmm.
There's about, it's essentially a 15-mile bike ride with a path right next to the
The main road into the park.
there, and 15 miles of a gradual descent. So I did 15 miles in less than an hour
was
with
an easy
very
ride.
little effort at
Yeah.
all.
Of course, going into
A
the
lot of
park
fun.
would be a lot of work, but
It
yeah,
would be a little bit different.
We dropped him off and met him down at the end of the path once we were down at the visitor center. Yeah, so definitely hit Bryce and Zion when you're in that area. I mean, Utah's full of parks that we loved. Obviously, several of them have made our list.
And finally, number one. Anyone can guess what number one's going to be? No?
Forgot what we wrote down.
Yellowstone.
Oh yeah. I forgot.
Yellowstone. We actually have two, Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons
Right, and they're
National
really
Park,
they're
because they're
right.
actually, they touch each other.
Yeah, they're one
so
right into the other.
typically you're not going to see one without seeing the other.
Right.
Yellowstone is definitely on everybody's
It's
list,
huge.
and for good reason. I mean,
very good
there's
reason.
so much to see there. There's incredible water, incredible landscape, incredible animals, the geysers,
Yeah.
pretty much anything that you think of when thinking of national parks
It's
is
in there.
you're thinking of Yellowstone.
Yeah, gorgeous views and the big lake and we could go on and on.
One of our highlights was finding a place for lunch. We asked a ranger where we should go for lunch, and
yeah.
she told us about this little area that used to be a campground, and we could go inside and
It was by a
set up.
river, and we could play in the water.
As we're turning in, the road's completely backed up because there are bison just
Huge.
blocking the road
Huge herd.
right up against the area that we were going to be having lunch. So we got to go out. There was rangers there making sure everyone was safe, but being 15, 20 feet away from some of these bison, just getting an incredible look at how they mingle with each other and interact.
It was the beginning of mating season, so we were
Yep.
seeing the males rolling in the dirt and making
Yep.
all their noises, and it was incredible, that huge herd of
And
buffalo.
we actually went
Bison.
into Yellowstone multiple times, three different
Yep,
times,
we stayed on
just
the
because
east
we were there
side.
for so long.
We stayed on the east side for a while and also on the west side, so we came in from both campgrounds, and we weren't even supposed to be in that area that long because we were supposed to hit Glacier, but the fires up there kept us down, and we're glad we had that much time around Yellowstone.
Just to be
because
able
there
to
were-
enjoy it more.
Yeah, I do wish we could have camped inside, but
It's really hard to get reservations at Yellowstone.
Make it early,
Yep.
but we were able to camp inside of the Tetons. Boondocking there, we stayed with friends, and that one being right in the park and close access to everything always makes it so much better when you're right in there close by.
Yeah, and so the Tetons is great too. There are so many hikes that you can do, and while the Tetons and Yellowstone butt up right next to each other, they're completely different
Yeah.
landscapes.
Yeah.
The Yellowstone area is more open, a lot of rolling hills and grasslands, while the Tetons is the beginning of the mountain range, and it's just incredible the dramatic difference between the landscapes between the two, even though they're right next to each other. We went on a couple of different hikes looking for pikas.
Yep.
We got to see some
took a waterfall
pikas.
hike, and
We also
Yeah.
went on a family bike ride
Yeah,
one
they
day.
have great bike trails along through there as well. And again, we only had, what, 3 or 4 days in there. It was a short stay.
Yes.
And so we saw not as much of the park as we would have liked to, but even in that small little area, there was so much to do.
Yeah, you could easily go there and stay a week and
yeah.
go out every single day and not
Yeah.
run out of things to do.
Yeah.
Just that's
Yeah.
how big and grand the area is. So. And that's
That's
going to do it for our
That's our
top
10.
10 list. There are definitely a lot more places that we want to go.
Yeah, we still
as
have a
Rachel
list.
mentioned, we didn't make it to Glacier National Park, which was on our list, but
Yeah.
we had to reroute due to the fires. A lot of national parks in the California
Right, the
and Washington,
the
Portland area.
Northwest, and we wanted to hit Banff. That's not in America, but hitting the Banff area up there we still want to hit, and also Acadia and more of the far northeast. So we've got a lot more that we still want to see and check out. So
And we missed some in Texas due to the government shutdown.
correct.
We
Yes,
didn't
we
make
didn't
it
hit some of that.
to
What's the one that's Carlsbad? That's the one. We missed that one, and Big Bend. That's
Big
another
Bend,
one.
yes.
So we still have a lot of national. We keep mentioning national parks. They were all over our list, right? They're some of our favorite places. We love cities. We love national parks. Those are the highlights for us.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have recommendations for other places people should
Yes.
stop by, make sure you drop them in the comments below. We're always looking for additional suggestions.
Yep.
We have a huge map with all these points on it of places that we want to hit. But we always love hearing what other people recommend because there is so much out there to see. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and we hope to see you on the road.